It's the Exit 52 podcast presented by Jimmy Seafood, the only Baltimore podcast going live at the Tailgate next week for opening day. Have not done that in a while, fellas. Have not dropped the only Baltimore podcast in a while. And I said, how can we liven up the beginning of this show? And that's where I came down on. So
that was so comfy. It felt comfy. It felt like it just sounded natural. It like didn't occur to me for a few seconds. Like, wait, it's been a while since we heard that.
I might have to bring it back. I might have to just start making a list and getting that intro back into the flow of things. We've done a lot of things since I said that, so there's a bunch of new fodder I can probably use. I think it's worth bringing back. So maybe we will. How are you fellas doing?
Still daylight. So I'm
still daylight.
This is maybe one of the only podcasts we've ever done where there is daylight.
Yeah.
We are
at least for a non-incident analysis, and even then, the incident analysis are often after the sun's gone down in the fall. So this is rare territory.
Beautiful.
I feel like I've done a couple balcony twilight hour podcasts from my deck in Ocean City, but this is different.
You also did a podcast from your balcony at your friend's house and then fell off said balcony.
I didn't do the podcast from the balcony though. I did that distanced out in the backyard.
That was early days of the podcast when that happened. Very early days.
That was tough. That was tough.
That was very tough. But you've recovered and as you just said, you're in the best shape of your life. I'm in the best shape of my life. Fellas, March Madness about to get underway here on True TV, one of Arditti's favorite networks, where he watches a lot of Impractical Jokers, I'm sure.
What channel is that? I can't find it.
I don't know. I have it on HBO Max here on my computer, so that's how I'm watching. Only local team in the field here, Howard, playing against Wagner. So, go Howard. Former Maryland guard Marcus Dockery playing for Howard. What is your guys' favorite March Madness non-Maryland moments? They're all over Twitter this week. All Twitter does is just a history lesson over the last 25 years of March Madness. I've watched the Sorrentine shot for Vermont. I've watched 60 Gus Johnson clips. I watched a Mike Gansey, Chris Paul duel, Wake Forest versus West Virginia. I watched that for 3 minutes earlier today. What's the first thing that comes to your guys' minds?
I don't know if I have a straight up, I would say that Vermont shot, because what was that? That was 2005, right? I was a sophomore in high school, and I think we left school early to go to a friend's house to watch it. So I was with all the upperclassmen, just hanging out, and a couple people were cracking beers on a Friday, I think it was, or I can't remember if it was a Thursday or Friday. But we were just oh, this is awesome. His parents weren't home. We're just watching March Madness. We had that game on, and it was awesome. I don't know if that obviously, I want to say the Duke and Butler game, if that shot would have went in, because it was just everyone but it didn't work out. God, I don't know. I would, I don't know. I would just say maybe the Vermont, maybe just skipping school to watch the games, but there's just a ton of them, but they're all great ones. I don't know. I can't decide on one.
I think Gus Johnson's soundboard. We always go down this.
We have gone down this road, but it's the road everyone goes down on every March Madness. Is just every Gus Johnson clip.
Yeah,
come on, give it to us.
Give us one. Just give us the first one that comes to mind.
Rising Fire, count it. That's a good one.
Mine is always Batista with the catches. Mine is absolutely Batista with the catch.
That's it.
It's a shame. Fox should just lend Gus to CBS for just the first and second rounds. We don't even need him. We don't even need him for the regionals if they don't want him for the regionals. But just send him out to Pittsburgh or Omaha or Spokane, wherever they would like. Salt Lake City, Buffalo, Jacksonville, all these places that these things are every couple of years. And just let him roll. Just let him absolutely get after it. Greensboro, and just let him do his college basketball thing. It's so sad that he even let him do the first four. Let him do these. 4 games that we get. As opposed to Spiro Ditas, who's good, but he's just not Gus Johnson in terms of this. Because Gus has his faults, but the March Madness calls are sort of what made him legendary, along with his running away from the cop speed. But I cannot wait for March Madness. We've tipped off here, Wagner versus Howard. And March Madness, boys, means the start of baseball as well. Is baseball starting tonight in Korea? Did I read that somewhere?
Tomorrow?
Is it South Korea?
It's like
tomorrow?
6:30 tomorrow, yeah.
So we're about to get underway with baseball. Go back and listen to our last 3 or 4 pods profiling all of the different position groups of the Orioles. We sort of previewed all of those and broke down who we think might make the roster. And we were talking about a pre-pod, Arditti. Really, all the storylines have kind of stayed the same over the past week. Jackson Holliday continues to play well. Colton Cowser continues to mash. It feels like the roster is sort of coming into focus as we're about a week away from when that'll be named.
Yeah, and again, everyone is. I mean, you said it earlier, or you said it last week. There haven't been any injuries. You had Mullins with his little hamstring thing, and then Bradish and the Means and all that on the first day of spring training. But outside of that, again, knock on wood, they've been very, very healthy, which is great. So that's my biggest takeaway from spring training is just not the stats, not the roster noise or anything like that, not the wins and losses, but they are going to win the Grapefruit League. Not a big deal. But again, it's everyone stayed healthy. And again, the storylines were the storylines. They're the exact same thing that we talked about a month ago. Is Jackson Holliday going to make the roster? Yes, he should. And then who's going to make it in the outfield? Is it going to be Colton Cowser? Is it going to be Ryan McKenna? Is it going to be Heston Kjerstad? What are they going to do with Kobe Mayo? It's all stuff like that. Everyone else is pretty set in stone. Again, your catchers are set in stone. Your left fielder, your center fielder, your outfield for the majority. Santander is either going to be in right or DH, and Cowser will be in that other spot. But again, it's kind of been obviously all spring training is fun, but it's like we just get to kick our feet up and watch Jackson Holliday put on an absolute clinic every single day. Like he did it today, beating out the ground ball to the shortstop, even though he was out and they called him safe. Making the nice play at second, his home run. Cowser had a 463-foot home run over the batter's eye today. It's just incredible. And again, it's everyone has kind of lived up to the hype. I guess if there's one guy who hasn't, it's Heston, who's had he's had a tough spring. But again, the good thing is you can send him down and he'll be back up. He'll be in the majors this year and he'll hit home runs. He's going to be good, but he's losing the competition right now to Colton Cowser, who's hitting 360 and his 6 home runs. Oh, by the way, Kyle Stowers suddenly is Barry Bonds and only hits home runs off lefties, and then he hits 3 off a righty the other day. So I don't know. It's been a fun spring training. I think it's a little too long, but I'm glad that we're wrapping it up. And again, next week, I think we'll find out roster stuff pretty soon. And Brian, you may know more about this or remember more. Didn't they always used to do the roster 24 hours before? Now, teams are kind of starting to the Brewers just announced their top prospect is starting the season with them last week. So I feel like the stuff's getting earlier and earlier released. I don't know, but I would love. I'm sure they're working on some video for Jackson for him to get called or for them to say that he's starting the year up here. But it just seems like it's earlier and earlier. But yeah, it's just been it's been fun this spring, but I'm ready for the real shit.
I don't know that they ever had a actual roster cutoff or submission. I'm sure there is. There has to be. But
yeah,
I'm sure with the Dodgers and the Padres starting tomorrow at 6 a.m., there's something that comes into play with that. I could be wrong, but how do we feel about the Thursday start? I don't know how I feel about it. They built in that extra day, and we used it last year for rain delay, which is kind of nice. But I don't know. There's the upside with the idea of taking off of work to go to opening day. That's kind of cool. But at the same time, I guess they want it to be nice and neat with the series and everything. But why not do a Saturday, leave Sunday open, and then you just kind of pick it up on Monday as a series from there, something like that. I don't know. Or just Friday. Just do Friday. And if you get rained out, you get rained out. You literally have the entire season to figure out how to fit that game back in.
Yeah. I agree with that. I always assumed that it was something with money, like, that they could track that they make more money if it's on this day or what, but I don't know. But yeah, I'm with you there. And again, that nice built-in rain delay day is always, it's helpful, but again, it happens. I mean, last year's was the first kind of like postponement. I guess they were postponed in Boston a couple years ago, but in Baltimore, it's the last one I can remember. Or I can't remember one in a while, but yeah, Thursdays, whatever. Like now it's kind of just turning into like, all right, take off Thursday and Friday and then the weekend and you're good to go. But yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me really either way. I think that I'm sure there has to be, right, like some scheduling quirk that there's the reason they build it. And the thing I would say is it is just bizarre that that the baseball season is kicking off tomorrow at 6:05 a.m. on ESPN. And I totally get the idea of going to Seoul and doing this stuff. Like it is a hugely global game. Major League Baseball is trying to find value in wherever they can because their value continues to fall here to a certain extent. And so you have these baseball hotbeds that are yearning for the highest level of competition. But it just feels like it's like, oh, baseball started. Oh, it starts tomorrow in the morning. I wish they would carve this stuff out more in the middle of the year as opposed to starting the season with teams in South Korea. And I get that that's tough because then you're flying teams out, but they're doing it with teams and sending them to London. So it can't be the hardest thing in the world. I think it's weird. Like, I think it's weird that two teams are just underway. 6:05 a.m. Dodgers Padres, and then you can go watch Tigers Twins in Fort Myers at 1:05. It's just like, so some teams are playing. It just is it's a weird start to the season to me for these teams to be playing regular season games. Right now, I don't really get it. But
well, yeah, and then they have to fly back, and the rest of the teams are still in spring training, and they kind of have to like come back down off that high of playing meaningful games. And then again, it's, they do it for 2 days or whatever. I don't even know if they'll play with the jet lag and all that, but then it's opening day for them. So it's, I don't know. It's bizarre too. I don't like it. I get why they do it. Like you said, I mean, they have Ohtani and you got all these guys over there. So I get it, but it's just like, figure something else out. I don't know. It's weird, but I mean,
so the Dodgers play tomorrow, play the 20th and the 21st. They then play 3 spring training games against the Angels, and then they play on opening day 2 days later. Very
zero
weird.
cents. Zero
Very
cents.
weird.
It's like the Ravens start, play a game in Brazil, like in the middle of week 4 of the season. It's a real game. 3 preseason. It's a real game, but then they have to come back and like, I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. But it's baseball. That's baseball for it.
Yeah. So I feel like they have not perfected their like what it looks like to go over there and play internationally. And maybe they should just send teams over during spring training to play exhibitions. But obviously they see the value of these being like legitimate games, unlike what the Premier League soccer teams do or the teams from Spain. They come over and they play all these exhibitions during the summer. I guess that doesn't make as much sense for some of these teams or for whatever the strategy is, but they want to bring the best of the product. It's just like bizarre that, those teams are going to have records a week before everybody else. Just, everyone, it's just start. Like the season should start. Everyone should play on opening day or whatever it may be, or however you want to do it. But having teams open a week before is just kind of weird. I'm trying to find like an opening day TV schedule, like if there's national TV implications to why they would start on a Thursday, because if they're doing games on ESPN has the NBA, so they have their NBA Friday stuff. So I was wondering if maybe they do it because Thursday gives them the opportunity to put games on ESPN, but ESPN barely does anything besides Sunday Night Baseball, so I'm not really sure. But I can't find it, so we'll move on. Speaking about the Orioles, just as our weekly look at our offensive numbers here, it really is amazing what Cowser, Stowers, and Mayo have done in spring training. We touched on Gunnar Henderson a little bit last week and his kind of under the radar, just kind of like, hey, I'm fine. Here's my spring training. Colby Mayo, OPS over 1,000, as the Stowers and Cowser, and all 3 of them are not guaranteed spots on the opening day roster. It's just it's an embarrassment of riches, and I wonder if the competition is elevated what spring training has looked like. The fact that these guys know they have to prove it and cannot just kind of sleepwalk through the last month is a pretty intriguing idea that it's made all these guys better.
Yeah, again, I mean, a competition I think helps everyone, and especially when a group like this is so close. It's not, Kobe Mayo is, what is he, 22 years old. He's not battling it out with like a 31-year-old, guy like an Adam Frazier for like a spot. Obviously, you could say Ramon Urias, but I think everyone kind of assumes he's gone. But yeah, again, it's these guys just, it seems like they legitimately thrive off competition. Like I was just saying how like, oh yeah, Heston Kjerstad not that good, blah, blah, blah this year. Then I looked at his numbers and he's batting 261. It's like, that's perfectly fine. That's very, very good. But again, I've been so impressed with Mayo and Calzer and Stowers and Jackson and just all these guys. And again, I don't know. I mean, there's not enough room to put people. And I tweeted out, but they could have 35 roster spots open and the Orioles would still have some tough calls to make. I don't think Mayo makes the team out of camp. I don't think he does. I think his defense, I think they'll still use that kind of as an excuse to keep him down a little bit, but also they just really don't have room. They're not going to DFA Ramon. They should. I would love if they would try and trade Ramon and Stowers to get an arm in the bullpen or something like that. But again, I mean, like we talk about every week, like you look at the numbers, Jackson batting 326 with 2 home runs and an OPS near 1,000, 998 OPS and 43 at bats. People are digging in on Jackson a little bit for his strikeouts. He's 14 strikeouts in 14 games. Don't give a shit. I frankly do not give a shit. If he's going to have an OPS near 1,000 in 45 at bats, I will take that 100% of the time, twice on Sundays. Jordan Westberg hitting 268, Calzer 351 with 5 home runs. Tyler Nevin hitting 340, Kobe Mayo 333, Kjerstad 261, Connor Norby had a home run today. He's batting 292. It's everyone is getting a chance and everyone is producing. It's not like there's anyone who's like the weak link or anyone like that. They're just all absolutely obliterating the ball. And it's crazy to see how it's going to work out. And again, it sucks because someone's going to get left out. A couple people are, but they all had great quotes. Colton today was like, listen, I'm just here to play. Whatever they tell me is what they tell me. Wherever they tell me to go, that's where I'll go. Jackson said the same thing. Like, their decision is their decision. I'm just trying to make it easy on them. And so again, they all have the right mindset going in. I think they all know they're going to help this team win some games this year. Like all these guys are going to have a big moment this year, at least a couple of them, a couple big moments. All of them are going to do it. So I think it's a perfect mindset, a perfect team to have. Chemistry, clicks, vibes, everything is awesome. So it's, again, I mean, the title we've been saying the last month, it's a great problem to have. It really is.
Banks, thoughts on this roster right now?
I mean, it's the same story that we've been talking about, just good problems to have left and right. It's if you're having tough decisions at this point in the road, primarily surrounding young players that are not going to be anywhere. It's not like a couple veterans battling for a spot and it's like, this guy's expendable after this. It's like, no, these are assets today and tomorrow and the day after that. Like, figuring these things out is just such an incredible problem to have. And usually we have different kinds of problems. So I'll keep it brief. I'll keep it at that. It's a good place to be.
Yeah. I feel like we sound like a broken record every week, but it's sort of like it's time to just kind of play the games. Like you said, Arditti, it's like spring training is dry. When this is so much different. When the team was bad during spring training, you were just like looking for hope. So you would just latch on to random people that were having good springs. And this spring, it's been like, just get us to the season. Like, just get us going. Like, let's just like enjoy this.
Mm-hmm. And now it's like, just get us to the season because they're fucking mashing the ball every day. And it's like, this is what we want to see. And yeah, just 1 through 9, incredible. Plus the pitching staff and everyone else. So.
Yeah. And our guy, Mr. Trout, coming to Camden Yards, which I truly cannot wait for. Not a ton to talk about with the Ravens. Arthur Merlot re-signed. Played well last year. Great to have him back. And people are excited that the Ravens made a move. And that's kind of where we are. There's not a ton of smoke around that team after the Derrick Henry signing last week. good depth in the secondary, Banks.
Sorry, good depth. Sorry, I missed what you said there.
The re-signing of Mr. Malat, who I think I pronounced his
Oh,
name.
what's not the like there? I saw some people that were really going on the secondary as like a weak point on this team. Like up front, I mean, Brandon Stevens is just so unheralded. Like he was such a good player for us last year. And then Marcus Williams, one-arm man. Yeah. I mean, there's a good football player in there, and he played good football last year. Kyle Hamilton's not. He might be a top 5 defensive player in football. Like he's reached that echelon. And then Marlon Humphrey, say what you will about him, he's still got plenty left in the tank. Probably approaching the back 9 of the career here. So building out that depth behind those guys is pretty key. And Millette did such a great job and embodied the attitude of the defense last year. And I think that speaks volumes that it's not just like a 1-year deal that they brought him back on to say, hey, like we'll re-up for another flyer. Like 2 years says, hey, like let's keep this guy around beyond that. And we're actually like want this guy to be a piece of what we have here for the time being.
Yeah, and there's no doubt they're going to continue to add. I mean, they draft secondary pieces every year, in the middle of the draft, late in the draft, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
So you would think that they'll probably bring in some other guys to continue to build that depth. But I think they're, and I guess you could bring in a top flight guy in the first round if they feel like that's where they need to add. But
sure,
we shall see what they end up doing there. But not a ton more on that front. Just figured we'd mention that piece of news. And I know Banks and Spenny are coming up here later with a jumbo set. Eric is bursting to say something, it looks like.
Millette is 10, right? He wears number 10?
Yeah.
Got to change that.
You're out on 10 as a secondary number, or just because it's him?
No, because 10 is not a cornerback number. It's not. It does not belong there. Again, I'm a stickler for numbers.
You don't even see a lot of college corners wear 10, and college guys wear everything. You don't see a lot of college corners in 10.
Yeah, it's weird. I think Millette's he's a really good player too. And same thing you were talking about Brandon Stevens. I think those two guys are like really, really good. They're definitely undervalued. They're just awesome guys. But with 10, you look bad in 10. I can't do it. I would fire a cornerback for
what position is 10 the best number for in football?
Quarterback. Easy.
Yeah, it feels like quarterback, it's not even close. I can't even think of a position I would like to see in 10. I guess a receiver could wear 10.
It's come around, on receiver.
Tyreek, right? Tyreek was 10, is 10. Yeah. It's just not a cornerback. That's not a number that you want to see backpedaling. Like some numbers look good. 22 looks good in a backpedal, like Jimmy Smith, but 10 just looks clunky and it's not great. It's not good at all.
Maybe now with some more job security, Arditti is going to head in there and he's going to demand a number change.
He should.
Who's to say? Say?
It's like Jackson wearing 87. You you take what they give you at first, and then you're like, hey, listen, it's not my 2-year deal. Let me get 20, 24 was Clowney. I don't know. Give him something in the 20.
I didn't love Clowney in 24.
No, that was gross too.
That was disgusting.
I'm glad we got 6 out of the mix. Just get that the hell out of here.
Yeah, 6 was tough. Do we think Millette has the worst number on the team by position?
So let's go down the roster.
You want to go down the roster?
I got it right here.
I also have it right here. You didn't like Roquan in 0, right, Arditti? Am I making that up, or was that Queen in 6?
No.
Queen in 6.
I was fine with. I was fine with Roquan at 0. I didn't like that Jerry Sandusky was calling him Agent 0.
That's right. That's right.
That was my. He'll be awesome in any number. He does not. I'm not here to tell Roquan what he can and can't wear.
There's nothing crazy that's sticking out as I look at this.
You can make a case for like 30 for Trenton Simpson. We're going to see a lot of that number next year. I don't love it, but I don't. I'm not to get fired up about.
Justice Hill strikes me as a running back that should be in a 20 number and not in 43. I
agree with that.
43, you're a bigger back. He should be in a 20. He should be like, I don't know.
Keaton Mitchell is 34. That's a kind of a power back, kind of Ricky Williams.
That's like a fullback number. Like Ricard is 42 and Justice is 43.
See, I like Justice Hill with 43 because when he was coming up, he was that young, scrappy, like he was always on special teams. Special teams are full of 40s and 50s. And I feel like for him, that's like that 40, it's like a grinder number. Like he's grinded his way there. That's what I always thought. Like I always see him on punt return or, a gunner or something like that, or on a kickoff. And it's like, that's a guy who just doesn't matter. He doesn't even care. He's wearing 43. He's running with his head down, just ready to go. So I like him in 43.
I'd like Michael Pierce to join the rest of the defensive line and put a 9 in the front of his number. That would be great if the entire defensive line, as currently constructed, all had 9. 96, Broderick Washington. 97, Brent Urban. 93, Bravion Roy. Number 91, Rashad Nichols. Number 92, Justin Matabike. Number 98, Travis Jones. He has 58. Everyone could be in a 90 number. Be fantastic.
Shout out to Malik Cunningham with going 12. That's a guy who gets it.
The great Malik Cunningham.
Good quarterback number.
That's kind of the ones that stick out as just the ones that stick out as the best. Flowers in 4, Andrews in 89.
With that said, Randall Cunningham did wear 1 for the Ravens.
True.
People forget that.
Henry at 22 as well. I think 22 is the best looking number on any uniform in any sport.
22 is good. 22 is very good. Ravens have nobody wearing 1, nobody wearing 2.
Our numerical formatting 1 looks really terrible with.
It looks horrible. Yeah, so I'm not shocked nobody wears it. It looks horrible.
No 2.
It would be nice if it would be nice if it. I guess there's no 90 numbers available for Mr. Pierce. It would be nice if Odafe Owe could produce a little more at 99. That's just a great football number, 99.
Yeah.
That was talking Ravens numbers. You want to talk about high level BSing of Ravens offseason stuff? We bring it to you here on the X52 podcast because that was about as deep into the reaches as you can get. This is gonna be a quick episode this week. We'll go right into Nick Cantor Medley, Maryland person of the week. Arditti.
I am going. Banks and I talked about it before, but my first ever favorite Capital, Chris Simon, died today on Tuesday. I don't know what happened, but here Capitals say he was a fixture in Washington for parts of 7 seasons, was an integral member of the 98 team that reached the first Stanley Cup final in franchise history. I'll never forget going to my first Caps game and being like, Dad, who the hell is this guy with his hair down to like his butt? And my dad was like, oh, he was a Native American and he's like a fighter. He's an enforcer. And he was just awesome. I couldn't take my eyes off him the whole game. I loved him. I had an old bobblehead of him a couple years ago and I ended up losing it, but he was like one of my favorites. He was a little bit of a hothead. Maybe he hit a guy in the head with a stick, I think. And he stepped on a guy's leg with his ice skate. Whatever, it happens. But I know he'd had some tough times after his hockey career had ended, but sad one. Again, we're getting to the time where we're seeing actors and singers and athletes that we watched growing up start to die, and it sucks, and it's very sad for him and his family and everything. But good old Chris Simon. That was my guy as a young Caps fan growing up. So good old Chris.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
It doesn't surprise me per se that was your guy. For whatever reason, the kids that I was growing up with that were the Chris Simon guys, I feel like there's a lot of overlap there with you.
I could be a Chris Simon guy. Yeah. I fit that mold.
Snake guy equals Chris Simon guy.
That's yeah.
So
I like that. I like that.
Did you send it my way?
I sent it your way.
Is that what that was?
Mm-hmm.
I guess Scotty Scheffler. I mean, he's just running train on the golf world. I kind of just want to make it Masters energy. Like everything is shifting towards the Masters. We're getting.
I was going to give it to the release of the Champions Dinner was what I was going to give it to. That is one of the great moments of the year.
Sure.
So we can combine on that one.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I'm a little disheartened that putt didn't go in for Wyndham Clark because I had a nice juicy ticket on it, but them's the breaks, I would say. That that was fucking devastating. But that was a hell of a back nine, hell of a day of golf. That course, I know I made the Players Championship pretty much my Nick Kinner Medley Man of the Week last week, but holy shit, does that course deliver, and just the strategy required to play it, and it's gettable if you hit good golf shots, and if you hit bad golf shots and end up in bad spots, it'll penalize you. Like, what more can you ask from a golf course? It's just a premier championship golf course. Don't care that the winner shot 20 under. You play good golf, you deserve to win. Scotty's a beast.
It was a good combination of a lot of guys playing good golf, but then that course punishes you if you are a little off, rough growing up a little bit. It was fun to watch. My guy Xander continues to just not get it done in those situations, but really, what can I even say at this point about him?
Yeah.
Other than the fact that, other than that Olympic gold medal on an incredibly easy course in Japan, he has truly not gotten it done in the pressure spot. So, yeah, Scotty's amazing. He's amazing. I was going to give it to John Rahm in the Champions Dinner. Also, John Rahm just being totally honest with the fact that it sucks for him that he can't defend his major PGA titles because he's an absolute dog of a competitor, but he took the money. So what can you do? I can't blame him. But some tapas for Mr. Rahm. A lot of options early on in the meal. So good for him.
It's a big slate.
Then a dish honoring his mom too, something that she had made. So love it all. Love it all. The Masters energy is coming fast and furious. And we're going to get the commercials on the March Madness games, which will be absolutely tremendous. I also want to give an honorable mention or a co for me to what has become an incredible return for one Dwayne The Rock Johnson to professional wrestling. The guy is incredible every single week right now. He's firing on all cylinders. He's not saying dumb stuff. He brought back the Rock concert from the Attitude Era. And his line about John Morant was unbelievable. So shout out to The Rock. Wrestling continues to be hot. This is my time every week to just talk about wrestling in the show. So that's where I get it at. So shout out to him. Shout out to wrestling. Big times right now. It's Masters time. It's WrestleMania time. It's March Madness time. It's opening day baseball time. It's just a great time to be alive.
Is March the best time for sports? It has to be, right?
It's in the mix.
We've talked about this before, like way back when.
It feels hard for it to not be a moment that involves college and professional football because those consume our lives so much.
Mm-hmm.
It feels almost like weird for it to not be that. But in terms of like a lot of diversity of what's going on, NBA, NHL coming down the stretch, baseball starting, Masters is pretty tough to. You like roll into like Triple Crown sort of season if you're into that.
Mm-hmm.
Still,
I mean, we used to have
still ways to go, but you're getting that like March, April, May is where I would include all that stuff.
A couple years ago,
May is so strong.
May is good. A couple weeks or years ago, like we would end up with like the Orioles had an opening day on Monday, and that was the same night as the Villanova UNC championship game, which was like perfect. Like it rolled right into it. Some people may have gotten way too drunk at opening day and didn't even see the shot that Chris Jenkins hit, and they had to watch it the next day on SportsCenter. But again, I mean, you can't beat an opening day NCAA doubleheader. Like that's about as good as it gets.
It's going to be a heck of a couple months, and we'll be along for the ride for you at the X52 podcast. All the Orioles discussion you can handle. You also have the draft. You also have the draft season, which a lot of people get into too, and around this time, which makes football just continue to be in the forefront. So maybe it is this time of year. We'll have all that stuff covered on the X52 podcast. Orioles, Ravens. Next week we'll have our full Orioles preview. We'll bring all the fellas on. Predictions. I'm sure people will have some props and betting related things to throw on the docket for everybody. We did that last year, me, Eric, and Spenny's. We're trying to get the whole group on. Talk about that, and it'll be live at the Tailgoat, presented by Jimmy's Seafood for the podcast next week before opening day. Can't wait to see everybody out there in and around Baltimore for opening day. Make sure to always stop by and say hello there. And if we're just walking around, love to talk to the listeners and everybody around. Very much appreciate the support. You follow all of us on social media at the X52 podcast on all of your platforms there. You can follow Eric at EDITTI22, Banks at Barstool Banks, me at Taylor Smyth 10, Spenny at Ravens 4 Dummies, the number 4 between Ravens and Dummies, and Jake at Jake Louque, LOUQUE. Make sure to rate and review the podcast on all of your podcast platforms and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Exit 52 Podcast, where these podcasts are in video form along with a variety of other content that we will have coming down the pipe. Fellas, a quick one here on a Tuesday evening. Always great to chat with you and see your faces. We will see you next time on the Exit 52 Podcast presented by Jimmy's Seafood.